40 years, Covenant House International has provided shelter and support to abused, neglected, and or homeless teenagers. Welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. In 2011, Covenant House provided services for more than 56,000 teenagers. The residential and community service center programs cared for 24,972 homeless kids. And the Covenant House street outreach teams served an additional 31,050 homeless and at-risk youth on the streets in 22 cities where Covenant House operates. What a blessing. They're awesome numbers. It wasn't too long ago that Covenant House opened a house right here in the Diocese of Trenton, our diocese, in Asbury Park. My guests today are Marcel Quinones. He's the outreach manager of Covenant House for Asbury Park and Newark, New Jersey. And with us is also Reverend Michael Bethone, pastoral minister, Covenant House in Newark. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
You know, I almost lose my breath listening to those numbers and just almost feeling and knowing a little bit. You know, pictures can tell us 1,000 things, but it's the seeing, it's the experience, it's the being there that really makes the impact. Right. So I bless you, gentlemen. You probably bless all your work, and it's just marvelous. Where do we begin? Maybe we ought to begin by just telling us a little bit more about Covenant House and your experiences and what you would like everybody to hear and know.
Sure. I'll jump in there. Well, as you mentioned, Covenant House has been around for 40 years now. Covenant House was, the vision for Covenant House was given to a Catholic priest.
I remember.
Right.
I'm old enough to remember those days.
All right. And so it's spawned out now into an international organization, 22 cities here in the States. We're in 3 international countries, and Covenant House is blessing a whole lot of homeless young people. I've worked in a lot of other facilities in the state of New Jersey and in other places, particularly in treatment centers and things of that nature. And I could say hands down that Covenant House is the premier agency that works with 18 to 21-year-olds. That's the group right there, Monsignor, that we work with, that that's kind of where young people fall between the cracks.
Because sometimes they have something to do up to 18, and then all of a sudden it's like, you're 18, you have to leave.
That's right. So the way it's set up typically is that you have a lot of programs for younger kids, younger teenagers, and then for older adults. But that group in between 18 to 21 in there, they age out of foster care, which is a new wave of homelessness. They're given a check and told to fend for self, and they find themselves on our doorsteps not knowing how to do that, and that's where we come in.
And myself, I'm just thinking about my own time when I was 18 years old. I mean, that's a crucial time for life to be able to, well, you know, even when you're 18, you think you got a lot of smarts, you know, and you don't. But it's a time when you really need some guidance. You need some place to go, and so that's what you're doing there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Marcel? How do you see that experience of Covenant House impacted on that age group?
It's tremendous. The impact is tremendous. You have young people at this age. Well, a lot of people fail to realize these 18 to 21-year-olds, they still have an opportunity to turn things around and to go on that path to success. And through Covenant House, we're just giving them that option and giving them that opportunity. I think a lot of people, and not everybody, there's a lot of people that do care on what's going on, but it's a hard population to deal with. Like you said, at 18, you think you know it all. At 18, you can't tell me nothing. I'm independent now. But then you realize that when you go out there, the real world is a lot different than when you were under somebody's roof. And many of our young people go out to explore. Some get forced out. And before you know it, they have no place to go, and they're trying to find their way, and that's where Covenant House comes in. So the impact is tremendous.
You know, Marcel and Pastor Mike, I said this to myself. I remember when I got a commission in the United States Army when I was a young, and I thought, you know, I can do it. I look back now and say,
Right.
oh my gosh, you know,
Right.
what would they think? What was I thinking?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
it just,
Exactly.
wow. How did you both get involved in Covenant House or the work you're doing? I mean, did you study this? I mean, was this something you had out of college and you said, I want to get involved in some kind of work? Or did God just kind of like
Yeah,
tap
I'll
you on
let
the
Marcel
shoulder?
go first on that. one.
I would say, honestly, I feel God is the reason that I'm here, is the reason why that I'm in Covenant House, the reason why that I'm working with young people, do my bout with homelessness at an early age. As a child, I was homeless. And it just,
You yourself were homeless.
myself. At the age of 7, I was in and out of shelters, dealing with parents that were drug addicted, abusing alcohol. And unfortunately, we ended up in circumstances where we had to go into the street, go to family members like these young people do, and eventually people get tired of you. They put you out. Had to sleep in some parks and ended up, eventually from shelters getting a place and eventually rebuilding my life. But because of that experience, it just gave me the passion. I've always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to give back. And I felt like God put me through it to make me stronger so that I can help other people. And I truly feel He's the main reason for it and why I'm here. And I've just been fortunate to have the opportunity to work for these young people. That's how I look at it. I work for them and I work to better their lives.
It's like the old stamp, I guess, when I was a kid, Father Flanagan, Boys Town, right?
Right.
He's not heavy, he's my brother.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I get chills even just thinking of that again, but that's
Right.
what you're saying, you
Right.
know? Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like yourself. Did you
Yeah, so I grew up in Patterson, and I opted after high school to go into the military as a way of escaping
Yeah.
the pitfalls of the city.
understand that?
Yeah, and so I ended up in a pretty life-threatening situation. I was during President Reagan's war on drugs, so I was with the first wave of troops that went to the border of Nicaragua with the Contra Sandinista. I was there for that, and came out of that situation a little bit shaken and confused and wondering how to reintegrate and that kind of thing, and ended up as a young homeless vet on the streets of Patterson.
Wow.
And back and forth to the VA hospital for help, and God sent some good Christian folk to talk to us young vets and engage us right there in the midst of our pain. That was the first brand of Christianity, if you will, that I wanted to embrace, because they didn't feel a need to crack me over the head and beat me down with a whole lot of stuff, but they loved me right where I was. And so I allowed them to take me deeper into the faith, and that was the beginning of this guy that you see today.
You know, the way the Lord works. I'm just even thinking of like the whole concept of wounded warriors. You know, we all
Yeah.
can be wounded warriors.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
you know, and thank God that,
Yep.
how, you're both young guys. How long you been doing this work?
I've been doing it for almost 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, he's a young guy. I'm not that young.
You're a young guy too, Pastor, believe me.
I've been doing
I
it.
talk to people now and say, you kids. That's all. Go ahead.
Well, I've been doing it now 14 years.
14
years. I started pretty much at 18, I started working in shelters and working to help young people.
Tell me a little about Covenant House, Asbury Park, Newark. Where do you want to begin?
Marcel, jump in.
Wow, where to begin? So much going on. We're doing a lot of work now in Asbury Park. We've been there for a year now. Going
Just
on
a
a
year?
year, beginning of March, it'll be a year that we've started our outreach efforts in Asbury Park. And in Asbury Park, there's a tremendous challenge right now with those young people. The young people are really, there's a lot of gang violence going on, a lot of drug violence going on. You have a lot of young people there that really, really need help. And we've been fortunate to go in there and start seeing some immediate change. We're bringing a lot of programs down to Asbury Park. We've partnered up with a lot of community organizations where we can come together as a team, as a unit, and help the community. Because these young people, there's a lot of violence, shootouts, gang violence. A lot of the young people at ages 12 and 13 are being recruited into these gangs. You know, at 13, 14 years of age, you have them basically standing on the corners, you know, and that's their job. Not school, not looking to go to college, not even to play sports. Your job and your requirement is to stand on that corner and make money for somebody else. You have parents that are struggling to take care of their young ones. Some of their own parents are out on the street. You have young people in Asbury Park that if you go 2 blocks over, their mother or their father is on the corner. So it's been a tremendous, just a tremendous challenge in Asbury Park, but there's some good people there. There's some people that want to see change, and we're just trying to be part of that change and be part of the solution. In Newark, you have the same challenge. In Newark, you have a big city, probably 3 or 4 times the size of Asbury Park, and they're experiencing the same experiences: the violence, the drug activity, lack of education, a high dropout rate in both areas. And as Covenant House, we're on the street, we're on the ground, especially outreach. And what I do, we're on the street, we're looking for these young people, we're going into the abandoned buildings, we're going into different areas looking for these young people and just offering them an opportunity to do something different than what they're doing.
Do you worry about yourself doing that?
I do. I used to. Let me say, I used to. But I pray, and I just know that God has me doing this for a reason. And I'm not to say that I respect the street. And I think that's the difference. I don't fear it, I respect it. And because I respect it, I understand that there's certain protocol that you have to follow when you're going into certain areas and certain environment. But I've just been thankful that fortunately up until now that I've experienced good experiences, positive experiences when I approach. Not everybody wants to hear what I have to say, but I do my best to get the message across.
Terrific. Pastor Mike.
Yes, sir.
Are you up in Newark?
I'm in Newark. Yeah, I'm in Newark. So I serve as a pastoral minister for Newark, and then some of our satellite extended services also in the Elizabeth area, in northern Newark, and what other place up there that we have? Montclair. Right. Yeah. So wherever pastoral services are needed, which is everywhere, you know, that's my neck of the woods. But just a bit more about Newark and about the work that we do there. The key for me is exposure. It's exposure. You know, that's one of the things that broke my chains, being exposed to the possibilities of something different, of a better life, you know. And the young people, when you hear the young people talk up there, you hear them talk about, if they go out of Newark to East Orange, which is only a mile or 2 away, it's like going to another world. You know, we took them down to the shore last summer. You should have seen hardcore so-called gangsters were down there making sandcastles, you know. So it's all about exposure, you know, and for them, most of them have been robbed of their childhood. So here's a chance to expose them to the possibilities. Marcel mentioned how they're doing so great with GED. We have young people that are in the top 5 percentile of GED test takers across the statewide. They're coming from Covenant House now, blowing the doors off the test results because so many layers of bondage now are being peeled back with the work that we do, and their true potential is coming forth, you know. So that's the thing that keeps me coming back. You know, I'm a Grateful Grace recipient, and it's my obligation to give to them what I've been given, and I know that those chains can be broken. Marcel knows. We've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and now it's time to help somebody else, you know, show them the way. So, you know, that's the driving force. You know, it's God's blessings in our lives, trying to share them with those young people.
Because we're all the same.
Right.
We are.
We're all the same.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
we're all, and you know, even some of my own experiences, I've seen, you know, all kinds of folks, you know,
Right.
and I said to myself one night, you know, that guy loves his girlfriend like that guy loves his girl. You know what I'm saying? There's always, they yearn for that. And yet
That's right.
sometimes people get stuck. They can't see past the end of the block or
Right.
whatever it happens to be.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Even something as a hug
Yeah.
can go such a long way with some of these young people. They've never been hugged. They've never been pat on the back.
You know, I don't know if this is an absolute truth, but I've lived this. You know, I've always said that, you know, we talk about love. It's got 2 sides of the coin. Somehow the coin says, you know, I want to be loved, but this side of the coin says, I can love. And I've always thought that if one of those sides isn't working, something's going wrong.
Right.
And it leads to addictions, or it leads to lots of other things. So you gotta almost grow both, because some people say, no one loves me.
Right.
You know, they can't believe that someone can love them.
That's right.
And yet you open that door and say, yeah, you're as lovable as any one of us.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Wow. Tell me, you know, tell me a little bit about how Newark has been older than Asbury Park.
Right. Right.
And were you the first one to go down to Asbury Park?
Yes, as part of the outreach team, I was the
I mean,
first.
somebody say, hey Marcel, you got nothing to do. You want to go to Asbury Park?
No.
Would you raise your hand and say, you know, I think there's a Ferris wheel down there, or was the horsey thing they had down there or something?
No, our president Kevin Ryan, who is from the area, and also has relationships in the areas with different community and just people that he grew up with in the area, and there's, you know, his passion was, we need to go down into Monmouth County. We need to go down into Asbury Park. We need to see what we can do. So one of the first things that we did was, let's get outreach into Asbury Park, which we do with most of our sites before we establish buildings, is get outreach in there. In New York, it was done. All throughout New Jersey, it's been done. Get outreach in there. Let them hit the streets, see what's going on. And just from going into the streets, speaking to young people, speaking to everybody, we found that there was a need there, and we had kids that came back. You know, that's the best result. We had young people that were willing to take a chance and come back to our program, and now are working, going to school, and just, it's been an amazing experience.
Quick little story. I was in Asbury Park a few years back, seeing some folks.
Right.
And a lawyer said to me, you know, you sure you're okay going by yourself? Yeah. Well, call me when you get done. Well, I couldn't find a place to call. So I found a phone outside of a building. You know, all these phones are gone now.
Right.
So as I was on the phone calling them, somebody came up to me and said, hey, you got any money?
Right.
The next day I said, you want me to do so? I need a cell phone. I need a cell phone.
Right,
you know?
right.
So I'm not as brave as you guys are.
Right.
God, tell me a little bit about the environment. I mean, the youngsters, the folks.
In Asbury, you have a situation where a lot of families are dealing with poverty. You have about 31% of the population right now that's living below the poverty line. Wow. You have maybe roughly 16,000 in total population, so 31 is a very high percentage for this community. And you have the divide between east and west. You have the west side of town, which is more of lower income, and then you have the east side of town that's starting to come up a little bit. They're starting to build the beachfront, and they're starting to do different things. So you have the west side of town where you have families that are struggling, and that's where the challenge is getting the people on the west side of town, the families and the young people, to understand that there is opportunity. But unfortunately, a lot of them, you're talking about generations and years of struggle, of years of surviving, you know, and that's become such a way of life for them, whereas everything is just survive. You know, as long as we're surviving, we're okay, and it's not okay. So you're dealing with drive-bys on bicycles. You had recent shootings where young people are using bicycles as their means to go and carry out these acts, you know, these violent acts. It's sad. It's sad on what's going on, but you do have, again, I can't stress enough, there are a lot of people down there that are looking for the change, that want to change, that want to be part of that solution. So those are the ones that we're trying to partner up with. Those are the ones that we have the relationships with in order to try to turn these things around, because the poverty is just, it shouldn't be, that's a very high percentage to have that many in poverty.
When I was a kid, not that I went there much, but that was
the playland.
Go to Asbury Park on a Sunday or Saturday.
Beautiful place.
Sure
it's a beautiful place. Beautiful place.
Like they had a convention hall there, and
right. They have concerts there in the summertime. It's a beautiful place. It's just exposing, like Pastor Mike said, it's exposing the young people to the other side of things, and that's been the biggest challenge.
Now you can't be doing this all by yourselves. Do you have a staff, or how is this starting to expand for you?
Well, myself, I have 2 other outreach workers that come out. Basically, we're a team of 3. But pretty much when it comes to Covenant House, we're such a community, everybody's hand is involved in what's going on. In one way or another, we're looking to, again, we're bringing down services to Asbury Park. So from interns to volunteers, some tremendous volunteers that we have that are just so engaged in what we're doing and helping out, from giving us hygiene products to wanting to ride in the van with us to meet these young people and see how they can help these young people. So it's definitely a community effort that's taking place in Asbury with everyone from Covenant House. So it's been an all-around effort.
Now, are they mostly people that live there themselves, part of the community,
Yes.
or some people
Yes.
like saying, well, gee, could I I'm studying up in New York, and I like to come down for a couple of weeks. And,
It's a combination, but the majority of the help that we've had, the tremendous amount of help has come from people that are from the Asbury Park area, Neptune, from different parts of Monmouth County. And in some way, shape, or form, they have a connection with Asbury Park, and they've been willing to help. We just had a Christmas dinner for some young people that finished graduating a program, getting their GEDs and job training. We had a Christmas dinner for them, and our volunteers are the ones that provided the dinner. They provided Christmas gifts for these kids. We had kids that were crying that they never had this kind of experience before, and it broke my heart because it's, you know, it's, you're a child, you're young, you're coming up, you should be able to have these experiences, and many of them never had it. So we have tremendous volunteers that really
do you have a house there yourself, or I mean, or
we have an office
youngsters stay overnight if they need to, and that sort of thing?
We have an office. We have an office location in Asbury Park, but we have residential services throughout the state of New Jersey, so they're able to come to our Atlantic City site. They can come to our Newark site. We have so many residential places where they can come and get the services that they need to spend the night.
Say a youngster is in Asbury Park and needs a place to stay. Do you transport them up?
We'll take them in the van and take them back with us. Yes. There's times we had young people that have called us up, say, look, I'm ready to come in. We'll go down to Asbury Park and get them.
Monsignor, just from the pastoral role perspective, just for a second, and in terms of other people helping, one of the things that I do is that I go to churches all the time. I'm specific about talking to churches from Matthew 25, right? What you've done unto the least of these, you've done unto me. And when I talk to pastors, my thrust is that it's a blessing that most churches have foreign missions. We're somewhere in the other parts of the world, and I'm saying, right here at home, there's some quote-unquote refugees who need our help. Right. So it's a blessing that we're all over the world, but don't forget those right here. And at Covenant House, we have them there. So, you know, there's opportunity there for churches to get involved, and for, you know, faith-based groups to get involved, and we welcome, you know, their participation in what we do, you know.
I believe that a story tells a whole lot. Do you have a story to tell me?
Got plenty of them. Do we have enough time?
Well, we'll do another show later on. We'll have to have you back.
We have a lot of stories. I have one young person in particular who came from Asbury Park, and mothers on drugs, fathers on drugs. You know, basically the only one in the family that even wants to do something with himself. And, you know, we met him on the street. We started talking to him, but he didn't want to come right away. So I was frustrated. I was frustrated. I'm like, you know you need these services. You're out here in the street. You know it's either death or jail for you. Like, you got to come back with us, you know. And he's like, no, I'm just not ready right now. But I, you know, give me some time. Give me some time. So, you know, long story short, maybe a month or two goes by. I get a call. I'm ready to come in. So he comes in, but within the first 2 days, he's ready to just leave. He's like, this is not for me. I can't do this. 6 months later, he passed his GED with flying colors. He's working in a maintenance program now in New York, and he's getting ready to graduate from that program and going into a full-time job. And right now, we're working on an apartment for him. And every day I see him, he tells me, thank you. But I said, no, I want to thank you. Because that's where we get our inspiration from these young people that come in. It's a hard decision to leave the area that you know, to leave your parents behind, to leave everybody behind, to come and try to better your life. So I just thank him every day for it. And I mean, this kid was on the verge of either death or going to jail. And thankfully, he came to the program, and through coming to the program now, he's getting ready to get his own apartment. And hopefully, we're working on the school part, trying to get him into college. He's a little iffy. He's focused on the job part. But we're hoping that that'll be part of the equation of him going to school.
You know the story about the guy on the beach and all the starfish are there, you know? And
right.
The guy said, what are you doing? There's 1,000 starfish. He said, yeah, well, help that one, didn't
Starts
it?
with one at a time.
That's
one at a time.
That's
one
right.
at a time.
That's right.
Tell me, is this growing? Is the homelessness among teenagers growing because of the economy, or is it the area? It's hard to break out?
I believe there's many issues towards that. There's the economy. You have Hurricane Sandy who added on to the problem of homelessness already. You know, now you're dealing with people that, unfortunately, they may be able to stay in a place, whether it's a shelter, but can't bring all their children with them. So now if you're the oldest child, what happens? The oldest child ends up out on the street. So it's presented a major challenge with homelessness. And I feel that it's increased, and economics plays a major part in it. Some of our young people have come from, great homes, and unfortunately parents lost their jobs, maybe dealing with a divorce, and now the child ends up out on the street. So economic has played a major part in it, along with others such as Sandy. Definitely has increased those numbers of young people that are looking to the street and going into the street.
Have they lost a lot of the homes down there because of Sandy? I mean, have they been demolished or flooded?
Well, at Asbury Park, not necessarily as far as the homes that were lost, but they were struggling way before. Their Hurricane Sandy happened a long time ago, and a lot of them are not losing it because of, nature. They're losing it because of lack of job opportunity or lack of experience, and that's really what's
playing. There's a lot of young people listening to us. In a couple of seconds, what would you tell them?
I would tell all the young people to know that there is opportunity out there. There is hope. There is chance. You just have to be willing to step out on faith a little bit. And that fear, you have to get over that fear and step out on faith. There's a chance out there for you, and I know you young people can do it.
And they can do it.
They can do
it, and they can do it well. Listen, men like this, women like this, but we're all part of God's family. Let's work with each other, pray with each other. And God bless you guys for all the work you do. Unbelievable.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us.